Silence used to feel normal. Now it feels like something is missing. You sit in a room. Nothing is wrong. No danger. No emergency. No one is asking for you. But after a few seconds, your hand moves. Not because you made a plan. Not because you had something important to check. It just moves. Toward the phone. Toward the screen. Toward anything that can make the empty second disappear. You may think this is boredom, or weakness, or a lack of discipline, but it is deeper than that. Your brain has been trained to expect stimulation whenever nothing happens. And after enough training, silence stops feeling like peace. It starts feeling like a problem. Think about the smallest quiet moments in a normal day. Waiting for water to boil. Sitting in a parked car. Standing in an elevator. Lying in bed before sleep. Eating alone. Walking without headphones. These moments used to be invisible. They were not exciting. But they were not suspicious either. They were just spaces between things. Now those spaces feel different. A quiet room feels too quiet. A slow minute feels uncomfortable. A blank second feels like it needs to be filled. So you reach for something. A song. A podcast. A short video. A message. A feed that never ends. Not always because you want it. Sometimes because the empty moment feels harder than the screen. For a moment, the silence disappears. And your brain learns the pattern. Empty feeling. Reach for screen. Tiny relief. Repeat. The false belief is this. You think silence became uncomfortable because you are restless. You think your mind is naturally scattered. You think you are bad at being still. But the system is not built around restlessness. It is built around prediction. Your brain is always guessing what should happen next. When life repeatedly gives you a reward after a tiny action, your brain starts expecting that reward. You pull down to refresh. Maybe something appears. You open an app. Maybe there is a message. You check the feed. Maybe the next post is better. You tap again. Maybe this one gives you the feeling. That word matters. Maybe. The reward is not guaranteed. It is uncertain. Sometimes there is nothing. Sometimes there is something. And that uncertainty keeps the brain alert. Teaches the mind to keep checking. Not because every check is useful, but because the next one might be. A predictable reward is easy to ignore. If every time you opened your phone, the same boring message appeared, you would stop checking. But that is not how the modern screen works. The screen is built around variation. One swipe is boring. The next is funny. The next is useless. The next is shocking. The next feels personal. The next gives you a tiny emotional hit. Your brain does not clearly remember the 100 empty swipes. It remembers the moment something landed. A message. A like. A strange video. A piece of news. A face. A sound. A feeling. And because that moment arrived unpredictably, your brain starts watching for it again. This is how silence becomes charged. Quiet second is no longer just a quiet second. It becomes the second before a possible reward. A doorway. A waiting room. A pause before something might happen. And if nothing happens in the real world, the screen can always make something happen. Over time, the phone does not need to call you. You call yourself back to it. That is attention conditioning. The trigger does not have to be a notification. The trigger can be a pause. A blank moment. A small discomfort. A task that becomes slightly difficult. A sentence you do not want to write. A thought you do not want to feel. Your brain learns that the screen is an escape hatch. Not a dramatic escape. A tiny one. Just enough to avoid the moment. Just enough to avoid the silence. That is why the movement can feel automatic. You are not always choosing entertainment. Sometimes, you are choosing not to feel the gap. And the more often you escape the gap, the more threatening the gap becomes. This is the loop. Silence creates discomfort. The phone removes discomfort. The brain learns the phone is the solution. Then the next silence feels even less tolerable. The strange part is that silence is not actually loud. But when your mind expects constant input, silence can feel aggressive. It exposes what stimulation covers. Your tiredness, your unfinished tasks, your loneliness, your uncertainty, your own thoughts arriving without a filter. A screen can interrupt all of that. It gives your mind a smaller job. Watch this. Read this. React to this. Scroll again. That is easier than sitting with a feeling that has no clear name. So the phone becomes more than a device. It becomes a way to avoid meeting yourself too directly. This is why silence can feel uncomfortable even when nothing is wrong. The discomfort is not always coming from the room. Sometimes it is coming from what the room gives back to you. Your own attention. Then comes the second layer. Rapid switching. One video becomes another. One thought becomes another. One app becomes another. You enter your phone to check one thing. Then your attention is moved through 10 different rooms. A message. A clip. A comment. A headline. A face. A joke. An argument. A memory. A product. A notification. Then you return to the real world. But something feels thinner. Your original intention is weaker. The room feels slower. The task feels heavier. The silence feels louder. This is not because the real world became boring. It is because the screen trained your brain into a faster rhythm. A rhythm where every few seconds, something new arrives. So when nothing new arrives, your mind starts looking for the missing signal. The dark consequence is not just distraction. It is intention loss. You pick up the phone for one reason, then forget the reason. You open one app, then another. You leave a task for 1 second, then return with less energy than before. This matters because attention is not only about focus. Attention is how you protect your own intentions. Without it, your day can still look busy, but inside, it starts to feel less directed. You respond more than you decide. You react more than you choose. You fill time without inhabiting it. And silence, which used to give your intentions room to return, now feels like the exact place where they disappear. So you avoid it. Not because silence is empty, but because silence asks you what you're doing. And sometimes, the screen is easier than the answer. This is also why rest can feel wrong now. Rest contains silence. Rest contains slowness. Rest contains moments where nothing proves you are moving forward. And to a conditioned brain, that can feel dangerous. If nothing is updating, maybe you are falling behind. If nobody is messaging, maybe you are being forgotten. If you are not consuming something, maybe you are wasting time. So even rest becomes filled. You rest with the video playing. You rest while scrolling. You rest while checking what everyone else is doing. But that kind of rest does not always restore you. It can keep your nervous system awake. It can keep your mind switching. It can make the body lie down while the attention keeps running. That is why you can spend an hour on your phone and still feel strangely tired. Your body stopped, but your attention did not. So the hidden system is not one app. It is the training pattern around the app. Variable rewards teach the brain to check. Tension conditioning teaches the brain to escape quiet. Rapid context switching teaches the brain to expect faster change. And intention loss makes the real world feel harder to return to. Together, they change the meaning of silence. Silence stops being neutral. It starts feeling like absence. No signal. No movement. No reward. No proof. Nothing to react to. And because the modern screen can always provide something, the quiet world begins to feel broken by comparison. But the quiet world is not broken. It is just not optimized to grab you. It does not flash. It does not refresh. It does not predict your weakness. It simply waits. And waiting is exactly what the trained brain has forgotten how to do. So the next time you sit in silence and feel that tiny discomfort, do not treat it as proof that something is wrong with you. Notice what the feeling is asking for. A signal. A reward. A distraction. A way out. Then notice something else. The room is not attacking you. The silence is not empty. The moment is not broken. It is just slower than the system that trained you. And maybe that is why silence feels uncomfortable now. Not because quiet became dangerous, but because your brain was trained to treat quiet as absence. The strange part is that nothing may be missing. The world may be calm. The room may be safe. The phone may be face down. No one may need you. No emergency may exist. But your mind still waits for the next signal. Like a room with no Wi-Fi. Like a screen that will not load. Like a body that is here, while attention is somewhere else. The room was never empty. Your brain just forgot how to be offline.